Hello, guys and gals. This is Jay with Behind the Grind, the Professional GM Chronicles. We have with us today Rob with RPG Mastery. He is a professional game master from Start Playing Games with well over 1,100 games on his to his credit. So we've invited him, and he's kindly accepted an invitation to join us for an interview and just to have a chance to be able to pick his brain and learn some insights that he might be able to offer. So, Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Honestly, really glad to be here.
Well, if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Rob. I've been doing this since 2021, June of 2021. And I actually started out in the basement of my college dorm. A little bit before I started doing this professionally. I was just in the basement, throwing dice, doing 3.5. With the buddies. It was a disaster, to be honest, but it was a fun disaster. And what started off as like just a little hobby of mine, I slowly started to integrate it into like my everyday life. And eventually, one of my buddies sent me a link to the Start Playing Games website where I could do the same thing I've been doing this whole time for money. I was like, for real? Really? So then I checked it out, and I've been running games on there weekly ever since, and it's only been growing since then. And I am truly grateful and honestly very blessed to be able to be here and say that I do this as a full-time job now.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It's crazy. It's like impossible. It's impossible sounding, but here we are.
Awesome. What first drew you into tabletop role-playing games, and how did you become a game master?
So it all started in the my college basement, like I was saying earlier, and it took a lot of convincing to get me to even join in the first place. It's funny because now I'm like looking back at it, I was actually invited in high school multiple times to join these like role playing groups and such, but I never did. Whether it's like I was interested in like doing sports or something else at the time. I just never really took the time to actually sit down and learn it. And but so eventually I was peer pressured into it. And when I started rolling dice, I rolled up a paladin for the first time.
Okay.
Because I always like the idea of the knight in shining armor, but with a little like a fun little twist on it. In this case, I was like a little soul in a suit of armor, and that was my whole gimmick, right? And it was really cool. I tortured my GM a lot with like a lot of really dumb questions and doing a lot of dumb things. But it was fun, right? We were just having fun with throwing dice, and I fell in love with it practically session one. It filled that like little niche in your soul that very few things can for me at least, and it was great from there. That's how I got started.
Well said. So, what led you into being a game master or DM?
Circumstance, forever GM syndrome. Wanted to try it out. Wanted to tell my own stories. I originally went to college for film and video.
Okay.
And so I was already interested in telling stories through the mediums of movies, TV shows, and stuff like that. That didn't truly work out. There's circumstances outside of my control and in my control that just didn't work out. But this medium that I have here with the role-playing games, it's perfect for the style of story I like to tell and like how I like to tell my stories. I love giving people memories. That's the like the heart and soul of it for me. And so when I do my work, I try to make sure that like there's going to be something memorable at some point, or memorable every session and stuff like that. And this, when I'm not able to direct movies and shows and stuff like that anymore, this is my best outlet to fulfill that desire I have deep down inside to, give someone to look back at with a lot of good memories and calmness.
Very cool. Do you still remember the first time you ran a game?
Yes, it was a total disaster. It was entirely improv. I had my own setting and all that. and it was an invasion of these weird beholderkin like creatures. I didn't even know what a beholder was. I just made it up and just happened to be akin to a beholder. And these big, I called them mammoth cysts, like mammoth cysts or something like that. And they came through and they started corrupting the land with their ever corrupting gaze, and the players had to stop that. And I didn't know the rules. I didn't know what balance was or anything like that. So it was always very imbalanced. My players put up with a lot of my dumb stuff, my dumb rulings and stuff like that. And but it was again, it was just a lot of laughs, right? Now that I think about it, maybe some of the players are like more of the masochistic type. They just really love their characters being blown up or like mind controlled and stuff. They love that. It was looking back at it, I was just a horrible GM.
It takes some time to get your chops, but yeah, that's I think all of us share a story about like that. What's been your most memorable campaign you ever GM'd, and what made it stand out?
Ooh, I have a few. The one that comes to my mind was the first time I ran Baldur's Gate Ascent to Avernus. It was very early in my professional GMing career. I think I was less than 200 games or something like that.
Okay.
When I started it, and it turned out to be like a year and a half plus campaign. But that campaign set the foundation of how I run my games now. And it was memorable because I had a intermediary throwaway NPC named Tisiphone that would guide the players in Avernus and kind of show them the ropes so that they don't have to figure everything out on their own and die a lot. So, for whatever reason, and I think it's Masochistic Players Part 2, they loved interacting with this devil. They found, for whatever reason, some aspect about her they found intriguing, and so I did a deep dive on that. I figured out what was I doing with this NPC that allowed me to have this intermediary between myself, the GM, and what information I need to give to the players, and what they are able to take in organically. And it was really cool, and they loved that NPC a lot, and they wanted to bring her around everywhere. And so, this whole campaign resolved around, it still had the story of Descent to Avernus, but now I had this devil intermediary with them, and it was really unique. It threw the campaign, it threw the book. I just threw the book out the window at that point, and just ran out on my own. But yeah, no, we went all the way to level 20. The players had tons of memorable moments. They fought 4 or 5 demon boys face to face, and they won. It was crazy. It was a crazy campaign, but I remember it fondly because that's when I discovered my talent for running NPCs.
Okay.
Apparently.
Very cool. Well, let me ask you, in your 1,100 games that you've run with Start Playing Games, have you ever had one of those just go totally off the rails?
I think the majority of my games go off the rails.
Okay.
I'm a very improv based GM, so I don't mind when the spaghetti gets thrown against the wall and nothing sticks, and I just gotta figure it out. But I had players change the entire course of a campaign on a whim.
Okay.
I had a bag of beans kind of get thrown down, and then the mummy's pyramid pops up, and boom, that's the campaign. Now you got to go in that mummy pyramid and destroy the mummy lord because he's destroying all the crops all around. I've had a Out of the Abyss campaign end up going into the Dread Realms, the same realms as Barovia and such.
Okay.
They just happened to find a portal, and they just did it. And so I had to throw the entire Out of the Abyss out the window to do that. But to me, that's what makes this job fun, right? It keeps you on your toes, right?
Without a doubt. Yeah.
When a player throws a wrench at you, you can't just let it hit you in the head and keep going whatever you're doing. You got to catch it and maybe even throw it back. Who knows what they're going to respond with? But that's intriguing. I don't know. It keeps things fresh.
Well, let me ask you a question. It sounds like you got, as you said, that you're really on your toes and you don't have a problem, breaking away. But Did anybody teach you to do this? Is this just something that comes natural to you? Did you have any role models, or is this just self taught?
Unlike nearly every other GM I've ever talked to, I never actually watched Critical Role or
Okay.
any of the YouTube content. I'm self-taught. Everything I do, I did from the ground up. Just reading the books and watching the occasional how-to guide on YouTube. Everything from balance, classes, learning, going from 3.5 to 5e, and now I'm doing like Pathfinder and other games and stuff like that. All of it's self-taught.
Okay.
That's just how I do it. That's how I've always done. For I taught myself nearly everything I know in life, so it's just how I run it. I
That's
don't.
all cool.
By the way, I don't recommend it. Get a teacher if you can. I made a lot of mistakes, but I wouldn't be here now if I don't have the very specific talents that I do.
Very fair. Very cool. All right, we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to talk about the philosophy on game mastering. Okay. So, oh man, what is your balance? How do you balance narrative storytelling with player agency, or do you pretty much so take narrative storytelling, which some people might crassly refer to as like railroading or whatnot, and just kind of throw it out the window and just let your players go crazy?
Ooh, I am very unorthodox when it comes to this stuff.
Okay.
So when it comes to other GMs, take this with a grain of salt. But I absolutely don't mind when players try to throw my story off. As long as it's done in character for reasons. Like if they try to mess with my story above table, I do have to like stop and ask them why they're doing it and stuff like that. And sometimes they're just having a bad day. Sometimes you don't even realize it that like their characters are breaking character. At least from my point of view, I just want to make sure that they are sticking true to what they want to do. With it. But yeah, when it comes to like sticking to the narrative stuff like that, I balance it around what my players remember. If my players remember something that happened 80 sessions ago, I make sure to incorporate it later. If I catch my players talking about something that happened just after a session and like they're talking about a lot and extensively planning out the next move, I'll tune into that and I'll see like, okay, so this is where the players want to go. Let me make sure that if they do X thing, they get something out of it, right? It doesn't even have to be a good thing. It doesn't have to be a reward. But something happens that's interesting. That's something that they'll remember. That's based off of their plans. And a lot of times, when the players end up running their plan or their whatever they wanted to do, it turns into something that they didn't expect, and now they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. And that's the beauty of it. So I guess to overall answer the question, I don't even consider it.
Okay.
I do what I think would be best for the players every session.
Fair enough. How many games a day do you run?
A day, I try to stick it to no more than 2.
Okay, so how many do you run a week?
Okay, I actually got to do math.
Ballpark it.
I do. We can talk about it. I do a recording on Monday for a show that I want to publish. And then I run one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. I do a live stream. Well, I'm setting up a live stream with Standard Gaming on Fridays, so that's another game I'm running. And then 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. I lost track of how many.
I was going to say, you've got a bunch.
I think that's
Okay,
9.
and the reason I ask that is how do you keep track? Are all these games campaigns? Are they one shot, or are they kind of a variation in between?
I try not to do one shots too much. This is not really my style. I do one shots though.
Okay.
Particularly with Call of Cthulhu, by the way. Call of Cthulhu, the best system out there. But the majority of my stuff is campaign, and I keep track of it a lot through what like I said, what the players remember. So if the players don't remember something, then I kind of just toss it off to the side if it's not important, or if it is important, I just bring it up later anyway.
Okay.
But it comes to like actual entertaining and note taking, I actually don't take very many notes. Don't recommend. Don't do what I do. I mostly memorize everything that happens. And when it comes to the truly important stuff that truly matters, I do take a few notes, but I barely take any.
Okay. The reason I asked, I'm just trying to see, how do you keep track of everything? But it sounds like your ability to multitask and compartmentalize is probably more exceptional. So that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
My ADHD really works with me in this job in particular.
I can see that, and I can see why. Okay, so again, with 1,100 games under your belts, how do you approach dealing with challenging or disruptive players at the table?
It really depends on the player. Each one is unique, and a lot of people tend to forget that they're still people. So they have their own personality, they have their own quirks, experiences, whatever, whatnot. Sometimes, when it comes to certain individuals, just simply talking to them above game, something that I learned very quickly is that a lot of players who seek GMs out and start playing games are really looking for someone just to talk to. It's a unfortunate reality we live in, but it's very surprising how much people will change if you just talk to them, right? Treat them like a person. I treat all my players like my friends, so I will talk whatever you really want to talk about, I'm fine with, because I'm a very open person by nature. And when people talk about like their lives and stuff like that, I try to relate as much as I can, but most of the time I just end up listening to what they have to say, and they change. So very, very few players remain problem players at my table. But for the sometimes the people that don't want to talk about themselves, or they're just, I don't know, they refuse to change or whatever. I do have to take them aside, say, hey, I don't think that you're the best fit for the group. Maybe there's another group that you could maybe join, or maybe this isn't the best table for you. And most of the time it's very peaceful. I've never had a breakdown in all 1,100 games. I never had a breakdown on mic during a game. I did have people break down afterwards, or during break and stuff like that, but never on mic, which is, I feel very blessed about that. But yeah, normally it's just I just talk to them above table, treat them like people.
I think you got to hit something earlier about just people wanting to connect, and especially with many of the players that are paying to play. I can see why that your game would definitely resonate with them. That's pretty cool. That's real cool.
Yeah. I try my best not to act professional, and that's whether people like that or not is up to them. But
all good. Okay, so this actually I think would be interesting. You as a game master, what do you prioritize? Do you prioritize the story, the rules, or the player's enjoyment, and why?
Ooh.
What are the three?
I'm gonna start contradicting myself because a lot of I need to put some context onto this.
Sure.
I have a core group of 7 to 8 players that are regulars, right? I call them my regulars.
Okay.
And they are straight up my friends, right? They are people who I enjoy hanging out with when it's not even doing D&D stuff. I go to conventions with them. I talk to them on the regular, play video games, whatever, whatnot. And they are very rules based. So when I run games for them, I prioritize trying to have consistent rules, which I'm really bad at. So they keep me in line. And I try my best to make sure that they have something that they enjoy. So it'll be for those players in particular. It'll be rules on top, then their enjoyment, then the story and narrative, stuff like that.
Okay.
But a lot of the time, like the player enjoyment and story and narrative and rules all meld together into this paintball. But it is rules and then players and then story.
Okay.
In that order.
That works. How do you, and this is actually a question that a lot of beginning GMs and wannabes like me, how do you create a sense of immersion with your characters? Do you do it through, I don't know, maps? Do you do it through the storytelling? Do you do it through sound effects, music? How do you do it?
For me, it's the NPCs. My specialization is acting out various people that you encounter in the world.
Okay.
That's what I do best. So when whenever a player talks to an NPC, every single conversation that they have, I use it as a opportunity to teach the player something new about the NPC they're talking to, about the world, about the setting, about time, and whatever, whatnot. whatever the conversation is, I try to teach them something about
Okay.
the world that they're in through that vessel. I also use I use Discord. I have a specific chat for music where I post recommended soundtracks. I used to incorporate them directly into the game, but a lot of players end up just muting it, and it was actually most like I took a poll on my server one day. Most players mute the music. So instead of me wasting time setting up music for most players aren't going to listen to, I just link the YouTube videos and stuff like that in the chat, and they can listen to it on their own. I have recommended playlists for that. So that music helps. I use music to put myself in the zone as well.
Okay.
And I also use maps. I use Fantasy Grounds as my primary VTT, and that has a bunch of tools I can use to have beautiful maps, weather effects, change out tokens on a whim, all that stuff. But it's most of it. I say 50% of the immersion comes down to making sure that the people that they interact with fit in the world, and they're not just like planks of wood or cardboard boxes. That's mostly where it comes from.
Okay, that's very cool. So this will be the most controversial question that you're going to run into in this interview. All right, and the question is, what's your stance on fudging dice rolls as a game master?
Ooh,
dun dun dun.
If you are my players, I suggest you skip this section. No, I'm like I said, I'm very open. So I think a lot of my players already know this. I am absolutely for fudging rolls. I have this very a lot of people might consider it scummy, but it's a tactic I use where I would just roll random dice that mean nothing. Whatever I want to build tension or make it seem like there's a roll being made to determine something. A lot of time it isn't. A lot of times it's absolutely nothing. But those rolls do serve a purpose, and a lot of the time I use those rolls to actually buy me time to think of something. Like when a player decides to go to X location and I haven't thought of something, I say, oh, okay, roll me a D100. And they'll roll it, and that buys me 10, 15 seconds to think of something like, okay, cool. Maybe they encounter goblins on the road, and they're vendors this time around instead of just like a combat encounter, because that's boring. You try not to do random encounters, by the way, pro tip. Random encounters typically leave bad taste in players' mouths when they look back on it. When they roll, they buy me time to think of something cool or funny or whatnot. Something to buy me more time so I can flesh out the location that they end up wanting to go to that I haven't planned out at all. So yes, I am totally for fudging rolls. I fudge rolls all the time, and and it works out to the player's benefit 99% of the time, unless it's like this specific thing that I really need to have happen. And if that one thing doesn't happen, if that one thing doesn't happen and I need it to happen, I'll make sure that it happens. Otherwise, like I risk derailing the campaign or having an unsatisfactory session, and I don't want that. I try to avoid that as much as I can. I always want something good to happen each session.
Cool. All right, we're going to change directions again, and we're going to start kind of directing our questions towards craft buildings and narratives. You've hit on something earlier I really want to, I'm hoping you wouldn't mind unpacking on. But
Yeah.
What is your process for creating your memorable NPCs? What's your trick?
Ooh, practice.
Okay.
Practice. You're when it comes to designing an NPC, actually, funny enough, I made a video actually on this. Like 5-6 years ago, before I even started becoming a professional dungeon master, where I broke down my process. I privatized it on my YouTube channel because I wanted to go back and do it again at some point. But the main philosophy I have is that I design it from the ground up to fulfill a purpose. Every single NPC that the players run into serves a purpose. Even the random ones, I find a quick purpose for them to fulfill. And with that, starting with the purpose, right? That purpose develops their philosophies, and their philosophies develop their personalities, and the personalities develops what they're capable of in and out of combat. So starting at the groundwork purpose, right? If I want to have an NPC travel along with the party and show them the way of using Symphony from the Center of Ernest, showing them the ways of hell, right? That's her purpose right there, is to be a guide. Okay, cool. So now we go their philosophy. Well, they're a devil, lawful evil, right? They love the law, they love sticking to rules, and they're evil. So kind of being mean, right?
Okay.
Players don't like it when they get bullied all the time, unless you have my players where they love being bullied. So, knowing the players, I designed an NPC that fit them. But if we remember earlier in the conversation, I actually didn't know what they liked at the time. So I made the devil someone who understood mortals and what they were trying to do with their lives and why they maybe didn't want to join the Nine. And I try to have her convince them to join the Nine Hells by making the Nine Hells look good, right? And so not only did they have an NPC that they could cooperate with, she's fulfilling her own goals at the same time, and those goals is to be with the players and become their friend, right? So now I'm fulfilling two purposes at once, which is being a guide and guiding the players along not only the narrative, but also putting ideas in their heads for later.
Okay.
Wink. And then everything else is just natural from there, right? The devil's want to send someone weak, so I made her a pretty powerful NPC. In combat, help them out. Definitely make sure they don't overtake the players in combat prowess. Putting them out equal terms usually gets the best results. But yeah, I hope that ramble illustrated the philosophy I put behind every major NPC.
I think it definitely put some good direction in, and that'll be appreciated. I know I picked some stuff up. That's great. Let's go to questions about pro GMing, and specifically, you got guys like me that are wanting to get into this. And I know I've got my own added challenges promoting point system gaming. I'm not doing Dungeons and Dragons and some of the more established ones, but these are still things that you can offer me and the rest of the audience that are like me. Just some advice. So, give me an idea what the day of a professional GM looks like.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to differentiate a lot from other GMs.
Okay.
A lot of my my day-to-day life is that I split it up very easy. The beginning half of my day is dedicated to not doing anything GMing related. Either I hang out with the family, friends. I take the morning off, exercise, whatever I need to do. I need to exercise more, by the way. Whatever I need to do, I do it during the day, right? And then when it comes to nighttime, that's when I host most of my games. It's about 7 p.m. Eastern for most games. And when it comes to that, I don't have to worry about anything else. Anything I have to worry about goes right out the window. I sit down and I do my thing. Unlike other GMs, I don't have a lot of prep time. Most of it just comes into making sure the maps work and I have the NPCs where I need them to be. Mm-hmm. If it's a combat encounter, I'll pre-plan that ahead of time. I've gotten to the point where I could look at a group of level 10 players and design a combat encounter in less than a minute. That will be fun and satisfying for them. And if things go wrong in the combat encounter, make up abilities on the spot. Right? That's a talent I have, and I don't recommend other GMs doing that if they're not experienced. But the day-to-day life to me is half normal, half GMing.
Okay.
Except for the days I run 2 games, then it's all day GMing. But I make sure to take my break. Always space out your games, by the way.
So that helps you avoid things like burnout and whatnot.
Yeah. I got to the point where I was running 12 games a week, and running too many games is mentally draining. You lose passion for it. Even when you're passionate about this as I am, you can still overburden yourself. But that I can't offer any solid advice on that, because that is just something you have to figure out by yourself. Try it, right? Try running more, and at the moment you start to feel burnout, cut it.
Fair. Very fair. Gosh, we've already hit some of these other questions that we got coming up. Okay, so you talk about your groups. You've got like 7 guys and stuff like that. That's part of your core. But if you're running with 9+ games and stuff like that. Do you have a constant issue in regards to people coming in and out and at different points of the campaign? And if you do, or if you don't, how do you handle that?
So the unfortunate reality of the job is that the turnover rate is extreme. Every game I run has a bunch of people coming in and out. It's the reality of the job, and that's something a professional GM has to understand when they get into it. Is that not everyone is going to have a consistent audience. I know GMs on the platform that don't have a single player that sticks with them. They always have a rotating door, and that's perfectly fine. That's, if anything, that's good, right? You get more reviews that way. I only have like 50-something views because most of my players are like I call them dedicated players. They just like the way I run, right? And I'm very blessed to have them. But other GMs don't have that, and that's right. But that is a reality that the GMs have to live with. Is that revolving door players are going to happen. I had a player try to join a level 14 campaign. They were like 250 sessions in, and a player tried to join. And I try to incorporate them the best I can. I work with them. Some players are going to respond to your messages and send you their 20-page backstory. Mm-hmm. I enjoy reading those. I know most people don't, but I enjoy reading them and incorporating them as much as I can. Other players will join in 30 minutes before the game starts, have a character already made on D&D Beyond for you to look at and improve. And they will leave 1 or 2 sessions in because they did not provide you information about what they want, what they like, or what they're looking for in the game. And that is also perfectly fine. The player is not obligated to tell you what they like, although it really is in their best interest to tell the GM what they like and what they're looking for in the game, but they're not obligated to.
What? So you mean you can't read minds?
Yeah, exactly. I can't read anyone's mind. So, that's a reality. Like, when a player joins and leaves a game in like 2 sessions, most of the time, at least I feel it's not solely my fault, right? I provided the best experience I can for them with the information that I was given, and if they didn't like it, they just didn't like it, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Like, okay. A lot of people I know beat themselves up when a player leaves, and I encourage them to don't stick to what you like. Don't try to change yourself for other people. That's when the experience truly starts going downhill. Is when you try to change what you are to fit other people's needs.
Fair. Very fair.
That's really unfortunate. A lot of GMs go down that route.
All right, so this is a question that you don't have to address, but it is a question that we're curious about. What kind of income per week, per month, per year would a new, not you specifically, but would a new GM hopefully be able to accomplish in a given time period? And what mile markers on the way kind of established, when you get to that next level?
That's a very simple question with a very complex answer.
Okay.
It depends on a lot of factors. What times you're running, what time zone you're in, what game you're running, how much you're willing to put into marketing, how much you're willing to put up with a revolving door style of gameplay. Are you doing one-shots? Are you doing campaigns? Are you doing something new, or are you doing something old? What's your target audience? There's so many factors that go into this. I had a very slow start. My start was about 150-ish a month. So not even close to being a job. Mm-hmm. I did this while I was delivering packages to FedEx and stuff like that. And I slowly but steadily gathered up my audience through my own making. I did a lot of marketing at first. A lot of marketing. I put a lot of money into it, but that didn't really work. That only got people to join the Discord server. They didn't actually join the games.
Okay.
So then I put less effort into marketing and making sure that word of mouth spread more. That the players that I have something to talk about, and that worked a lot more. Making sure that the player. So. When a player really likes what happened during the game, they will tell other people. I have one of my regular players. He tells his coworkers all the time what's happening, and so do my other players, so do my other friends. And they bring in people. They will bring people to your games if they think that it's worthy enough for other people to join. and that's how I got my core base. Is that people bringing in other people, people bringing in their friends that they want to play with. They're like, hey, this GM, he's really stupid, but he's fun, and that's the point of the game.
Come on, man. You don't have the success that you've had and be dumb, so I'm having a hard time buying that. But that's just me.
No, but I just we treat each other as friends. We call each other a whole bunch of familiar names all the time. It's nice, honestly. It's nice.
That's cool.
They go to a job and not have to act like you're at a job. But I'm getting sidetracked. So my success was very slow because of that, right? Mm-hmm. Not everyone's gonna be willing to even talk about your names outside of the games, no matter how much fun they're having. But slowly but steadily, I built up my repertoire. It took me about a year to comfortably do this without having a full-time job, and it took me about another year afterwards to live comfortably enough in my current conditions.
Okay.
I'm not rich. I also have a lot of fortunate stuff on my end, including a pre-set up retirement plan. I have my state allows me to pay very little for my health insurance based on state stuff. I know a lot of states don't have that. You're gonna have to look at your tax. You're gonna look at your tax codes. You have to look at what bracket you're gonna be falling in. You got to be able to plan all this out if you plan on doing this as a full-time job, and you have to understand how money works. At least in the U.S. But probably by the end of my first year, making maybe $1,000 a month, something like that. When I switched to being full time, I was making about $1,500 a month. Take home. All this is take home, by the way. After the SVG's cut and putting in money back into system, back into fancy runs and stuff like that. And now I make about $3,000-ish a month.
Okay.
Doing what I do, take home. And then taxes. I'm going to be filing out my taxes.
I say, dude, you can still do a lot of fun things with that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Pro tip about money. Figure out what you can and cannot write off. Make sure you understand that.
Okay.
I messed that up my first 3 years. I could have been writing off a lot more than I would have been. Because I was very cautious about it. Which, better safe than sorry, but now that I know better, you can actually write off a surprising amount of research on it.
Very cool. Okay. Question. Do you have as much fun now being a professional GM running for these playing players as you did when you were running for your friends back in the basement that you were talking about?
There is no point in doing this kind of work if you don't enjoy what you do.
Okay.
So every single game I go in, I have fun. Even sessions where I'm nervous to run because like something big is happening, I don't know if the players are truly gonna like it. It's fun, right? What's the point of doing this and bringing home not a lot of money if you don't enjoy what you do? Enjoy what you do. Just have fun. That's the whole point of this, for me at least. It's for me to have fun and to make sure that other people are having fun and have something to talk about with their friends and family and such.
Okay. What are your paying players' expectations? When they get into one of your games and stuff like that, what are they coming for?
Yeesh.
Besides pain. Besides pain, being a masochistic bunch.
Every time my players sit down, it's gotten to the point where I know them so well, I don't think they have expectations anymore.
Okay.
But I can tell you that the people coming in, they have expectations that they will never tell you. It's funny because you ask me what expectations do players have. Mm-hmm. My overall answer is I have no clue. I don't know what they want. I guess the baseline is are they having fun? Right? If a player who loves combat comes in and they enjoy your combat, they're more likely to stay around. No guarantees. But if a player who loves narrative storytelling comes in and it's a sandbox game, and the whole session was them trying to find a way how to infiltrate this devil camp and get the prisoner out, that's not fun for them. Where's the storytelling in that? It's just players planning how to do a raid. And if the other players love planning to do the raid, but that player doesn't, they're going to not enjoy the game.
Right.
But there's a good chance they're not going to tell you that. I could ask. I ask all the time what my players think of my GMing, what advice that they can give me, and they give me feedback all the time. 99% of it's negative, but I find that it's a good thing, right? And there's always things that you can improve on as a GM, but in the end, you're never truly going to know what your players expect unless they specifically tell you. And if you find a player that tells you what they're looking for, do your best to keep that player. That is a good player because they're willing to work with you to further your own goals and interests and to further enjoy the game, right? Like you have to treasure feedback every chance you get.
Very cool.
Job. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind.
Okay, we're going to pivot again for another topic. Now we're talking about the role in the online tabletop role-playing game community. Kind of what the DM's role is in this. So the first question is, what role do you think the professional GMs play in shaping the tabletop RPG landscape?
That really depends on the GM.
Okay.
I'm saying this a lot, huh? It depends on X factor, but I think that's the reality of things. A professional GM that has like a YouTube channel, like DM Bobbio, for example.
Sure.
He is a huge voice in the community because he has two separate backings. His player backings with his, by the way, 300 plus player server, very impressive. If you can get him to do the interview, I recommend it.
Okay.
He is a guy that has done what I do and is twice as good at it. But he's a huge voice, and when he does something, it reverberates throughout the community. And so do other major people who do more than just professional game mastering. But when it comes to the money side of things, the professional GM is very important, I feel. I spend thousands of dollars on role-playing materials, whether it's books, the virtual tabletop, tokens, maps. I buy a lot of stuff. And the professional GMs are probably a huge source of income for companies like Wizards of the Coast, Paizo, Crucible 7, Chaosium, all those big companies. They want to, they should. They don't. A lot of them don't, but they should cater their products to people like myself and other GMs who make money off their products. That's my opinion. So to go back on the question, what does a professional GM represent in the community? Depends on what angle you're looking at. If it's money, they're very important. If it's voices, only certain GMs have that voice. Is it like from a player? Should I have my local guy who has a passive interest in fantasy run my games, or should I go online and pay someone to give me an experience I truly am going to remember? That's up to the player to decide what type of experience are they looking for.
Okay.
Are they looking for something? Are they looking to replace their weekly trip out to the movies with? Get a professional. If you're looking for someone to throw dice, drink beer, and eat pretzels with, hey, I'm your guy, by the way. But Joe Schmo back
Call
in the game Joe Schmo back in the shop might fill your needs better. So
okay, fair.
It's up to you, and that's very subjective.
All right.
I like to think I'm very important, though.
Fair. How do you feel about the responsibility of representing diversity and inclusion in your games?
Ooh, that's a touchy subject. Mm-hmm. Ooh, whoa, we're spicy. All right.
You were warned.
No. I like this stuff. Like the whole political climate right now is very interesting to me from an outsider perspective. I try my best not to participate in myself because I don't want that to affect things like my job and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what I do revolves around conflict. One of the main points of doing these type of games, at least in the fantasy setting, not every system supports this style of play, but like D&D and Pathfinder in particular, that's the reference I'm going to be using for this, revolves around a major conflict. And those major conflicts typically have long histories of war, discrimination, all these touchy subjects, right? And not including that in your games is a choice that you can make I personally don't recommend it, mostly because it limits what you can do as a GM, right? The more topics you are putting a big fat red X on is the less equals less diversity in your games, less things
Okay.
that you can do. And now plenty of GMs put a big X on a lot of things, and they are very successful at what they do, and more power to them. I can't get behind that mentality. If my players are okay with it, and always make sure your players are good with what you're doing. By the way, that's feedback is important. I will throw in very hard to talk about subjects in the games, because I want them to remember that. I want them to take that experience and maybe apply that to their life in some way, shape, or form. Right? When a player character comes across an NPC that has been ravaged by the world, right? Everything they tried to do was shut down in some way, shape, or form because of the world. I want them to be able to take that feeling that they felt when I was describing it, and when NPC was, telling them about their life, about everything that happened to them. And if they feel something, I want them to be able to take that feeling and do something with that outside of the game, right? And you can't. I shouldn't say can't. It's harder to do that when you're not willing to broach on certain subjects, right? And the real world we live in can be pretty nasty sometimes. The more you look into it, the worse it gets. And a lot of people use fantasy to get away from that. That's perfectly fine. But being able to tackle those subjects in a fantasy setting where the overall consequences don't truly matter because it's all fake might be able to help you overcome this stuff in the real world.
Okay.
If there's something that you truly are afraid of and you encounter in this fake setting, maybe you'll be able to take that experience that you felt encountering it in the fake setting and apply that to the real setting.
Okay.
I've had to put this example, I had a veteran player in my game who was he was a Vietnam vet, so he was up there in age. He was deathly afraid of fire because he watched people burn, and when he played in my games, he told me that, and he said I don't want to see fire in my games, and I was talking to him, and I eventually I asked him, like, why more politely, why are you still afraid of fire, right? And he said that he never was able to look at it, like candles and stuff like that scare him. But I was like, maybe we could take this opportunity to work on that. Maybe we could use this experience to help you overcome your fear of fire. And slowly but steadily, I introduced, not directly, I was very slow with it, introducing more and more elements of fire into the game. And eventually, he messaged me one day. He was like, one day I was sitting there, I was thinking about how you incorporated this NPC that's used fire, like light magic, and how it resembled fire. And I was like, I'm gonna light a candle. And he did, and he was able to look at it, and he thanked me for that.
Cool.
And that is what I want to do with
Okay.
these hard subjects. And you can't do that if you're not willing to touch on some. Should I say can't? It's harder to do when you're not willing to broach on these very dark and relatable subjects.
Okay. What advice would you give to aspiring pro GMs to make their names for themselves online? How, in retrospect, looking back, how does a person do this?
Marketing, 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 marketing.
Okay.
You
Fair.
got to be willing to copy your game link on Start Playing Games and place it in places where they don't want to be seen.
Okay.
I've done Facebook groups, I've done Instagram, I've done everything under the sun except for TikTok. I haven't done TikTok. And that gets attention, that gets people in the door. It does not keep players that are very committed most of the time. Every 1 in 1,000 will stay. Part of the job. All right. If you really want to get your name out there, I honestly recommend don't do it through professional GMing. Have another aspect of it. Videos about content is the most common form that I've seen. and it can be very successful. You can make your entire career off of D&D YouTube, Dungeon Dudes, Critical Role, you name it. They probably all started with very similar things and aspirations. If you want to stick purely to professional GMing, honestly, I don't have much advice because all the tactics I used have failed to get my name significantly out there. But it does occasionally bring in more players and stuff like that. Unfortunately, you can't rely on Start Playing Games themselves to market your game specifically without you backing your own marketing through whatever means is best available for you. By the way, most of the methods that are free actually work a lot better than you'd expect.
Okay. Very cool.
Spamming your link actually works.
All right, last question. What is your vision for the future of tabletop RPGs, and how do you see yourself contributing to it?
Well, that's a big one. The future of tabletop RPGs. If I was a Hasbro person, if I worked in the upper echelon of Hasbro, I would say AI. But unfortunately, I do think that we'll have some aspects of it. The perfect world is that the AI will do things like play music, set lighting, and do things that require a lot of micromanaging from the GM. And then the GM will just be purely on the creative end. That, in my opinion, is the best way to use AI, is to have it be your helper, not the storyteller. But that's not how things are. I think that things, if people don't stand up and say no to AI GMs, AI-made content for the tabletop role-playing games, it will go downhill to the point where AI will be your GM, and that is it. The human aspect will be replaced, and that is unfortunate because I will be out of a job and I'll be really sad, and I don't want that.
I'm pro AI, but with that being said, I don't see it ever taking over the interaction aspects. I don't ever see it being able to have emotions. It can try and simulate things, but it's just not. But that's just me. So, well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me on this. Rob, if you wouldn't mind, take a little bit of time and let's talk about, if you can talk about spamming of your things. Here's your chance. Spam away.
I actually didn't have anything prepped for this. You can find me on Start Playing Games. The link will be in the description down below.
That is correct.
I assume. And you could also join my Discord if you're free to talk to me. I have a lot of people on there that like do games. Magic the Gathering, in particular, is a popular one. Video games, Path to Exile 2 right now. It's pretty big. Dark Tide, stuff like that. Oh, big Warhammer group. We have a lot of Warhammer groups. Yeah, if you like all that, then yeah, feel free to join down. So just say hi and interact with anyone you can, including me. Feel free to send me a GM at any point. I'm very open. Outside of that, I do have a pre-recorded show that I'm working on that's scheduled to release soon. That will be announced in my server. And then the live stream setup I'm working with Standard Gaming will be soon after. Hopefully getting that out within maybe second quarter this year, maybe third, depending on the group and schedules and stuff like that. If I could get that live Let's Play of Imperium Dictum out, wink, that'd be fantastic. And then you can keep an eye out for that with Standard Gaming. By the way, if you know Standard Gaming, good on you. He's a really good guy.
Hey, yeah, and that's really cool. So I'd like to maybe get some information later on, stuff like that, of how I can reach out to different people. But I have really enjoyed this. Rob, thank you so much for taking time to visit with us today. Guys, I hope out there you guys have enjoyed this interview as much as I did. I hope that you had a chance to be able to get some good insights as much as I did. So, like I said, if you like the behind the grind, the professional GM Chronicles and stuff like that, remember to like, share, and subscribe. So, we also want to interact. So, if you got questions for Rob, if you got questions in regards to some of his links or some of the things he said, we're looking for a chance to be able to interact. Just reach out there, put the comments in and stuff like that, and just participate. So compete, good Lord, just step in and compete. So, thank you so much, Rob. Again, I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, this is a lot of fun.
It definitely was. So, guys, God bless, and we'll look forward to the next one. Take care now.